standing by.
Five, four, three, two, one. You are live, you are live.
Good morning and welcome to the Sunrise Safari. My name is Brent Smith. I have Dangerous Dave Easterbach on camera today. And we have Sam and Jandre out in the other vehicle. And we have Viam and Steph on Shank's pony. And we've already collected a plethora of spiderwebs. It's an overcast morning, about 18 degrees Celsius, 66 Fahrenheit, which means we might be driving through that ethereal mist in a short while. So I am going to head down towards the Great Plains of the Cheetah and see what's happening there, and Sam's going to work around here in the north. But I'm hoping our cat luck is about to change. We've had a couple of quiet drives, and I always like getting out in the early morning with a blank canvas, or sorry, a painted canvas of tracks to try to figure out what's been going on overnight. But great to have you all with us. Let's go see what we can find. Also, we have we have Rebecca and Louise in final control, making sure we behave and jumping between the vehicles to give you guys the best game drive possible. So before we skedaddle straight to the east down towards Cheetah Plains, we just had a quick look around Shabam Road. I'm just trying to see if there are possibly any tracks of Queen Karula, but so far, unfortunately, nothing. Lots of hyena tracks up and down. What track is that? That looks a little bit more promising. Ah, pesky baboon tracks yet again. From yesterday, no doubt. Those knuckle tracks that look very similar and about the same size as a leopard track. A very good morning to Robin, who's, well, I'm checking very carefully here to make sure Krula hasn't snuck across. Robin would like to know, what animal is a jackal closely related to? Well, Robin, it's very closely related to dogs. So it is of the Canis family, the same as a domestic dog. And I'm trying to remember now, side-striped jackal. Obviously, the black-backed jackal is its other closest relative, but it is part of the dog family. So if we had to say what it was related to, probably domestic dogs, not too far off, or the foxes, Cape fox, black-eared fox. But even though wild dogs are referred to as dogs, and they are definitely part of the Canis family, they are further away from a jackal than a domestic dog is in terms of relation. Now, the African wild dogs split from domestic dogs over 1 million years ago. And they've even got an extra toe, and their dentition, their teeth, are very different and develop differently from a jackal or a dog. A jackal and a dog is very similar dentition, bird, and probably the closest relative I can think of offhand. Or the Ethiopian wolf, also a Canis. We get two species of jackal here, the side-striped and the black-backed. We tend at the moment to see side-striped more often, but it does sort of go in phases. I remember not so long ago we used to see a lot of black-backed jackal when I was in the southern Sabi Sands, and very few side-striped. The black-backed jackal prefer a slightly more open habitat, and they are far more carnivorous in their diet. They eat a lot more meat than a side stripe. Side stripes will eat lots of insects, fruits even, and are able to diversify their diet a bit more than the black-backed. And a very interesting thing, if you look at animal distributions, and I'll see if I can show you a map just now, between the side-striped jackal and the black-backed jackal. Now, there's some very strange distributions, and they're based off rivers and also wet and dry cycles over the last couple of 100,000 years. So, for example, black-backed jackal occur throughout most of southern Africa, right to the Zambezi River. And then north of the Zambezi River, they're none, all the way to southern Tanzania. This is absolutely fascinating. And that's mostly because in between there is Miombo woodland. And Miombo woodland doesn't have very high density of big game. So there are elephants and lions and everything, but not in mass numbers. So there's a lot more fruiting trees, a lot more insects. So you find a side stripe there and you find no blackback. As soon as you get to sort of northern Selous and north of the Rufiji River, all of a sudden you get back onto a bit of more open grass plains and stuff, and then the jackal are there up towards the Masai Mara, and then the Masai Mara Serengeti, there's a crossover point between two different jackal species, the golden jackal and the black-backed jackal. So very, very interesting distribution, and one of the weirder ones that black-backed jackal distribution follows is giraffe. So giraffe and black-backed jackal occur to the Zambezi, and then apart from a remnant population of Thornycroft's giraffe in the Luangwa Valley in Zambia, there's no giraffe again until you hit East Africa. Just double checking for Queen Karula tracks. And nothing just yet, so we're going to continue on. I think an elephant dropped a bush in the road there that looked slightly like a lion for half a second lying in the road. But it is not, it is definitely a bush. Been dropped by an eddy. Debbie's wondering about lion cubs. Have any been spotted? Yes, they have. Not by us, unfortunately. The Styx females have cubs, but they're keeping them quite far down south, out of our traverse zone. But we do know they have brought them into this actual area around Twin Dams before, so fingers crossed we might see the next edition of Styx quite shortly. So we're dropping down towards the Mawati River. So Karula's last known position was about 500 meters to the south, about there, where she had an impala kill, and both cubs were there. So there is still a chance she might have crossed somewhere around here. Now, it's always very interesting that historically Kruger tended to keep her cubs a bit more on Djuma around the lodge when they were this young, but she hasn't this time, and I have a theory that why she could be doing that. So, as far as I'm aware, now you guys have been watching and have been watching drives on Djuma for longer, you can let me know, but I think the reason is that Djuma hyena clan has become much bigger, and that is sort of right in the core of that hyena clan's home range. So she could be moving the cubs further away from that core area of the hyenas to protect them a bit better. But that's just my pet theory, and by no means fact or gospel, but I think it makes sense that she is keeping the cubs a little bit further to the south, away from that core area of hyena activity. I'm just going to have one last quick look here, see if there are any leopard tracks coming up the riverbed. Unfortunately not. So we're going to keep heading towards Cheetah Plains. While we do that, let's go to Sam so he can bid you a good morning.
Good morning, everyone. It is great to be out this morning. You've got Sam Chevalier that will be not directing you, taking you out into the bush this morning, and Jean-Ray will be the cameraman behind this morning. And we're going to stay in Djuma and see what we might be able to find this morning. Hopefully we can find anything. We're going to look for tracks. We're going to look for elephants that might be walking in the area. Last night, I must have bumped into about 60 elephants on the way home. It took me forever just to get home. I was also with Jean-Ray coming back, and it was, to be honest, it was quite magical actually. Even though we were late for the live safari show, we sat underneath the moonlight and watched many, many elephants walking past us, which was very, very cool to see that. But now we are off towards the hyena den. Potentially there may be some hyenas. My experience with the hyena den over the last few days is that on the way there I just see hyenas just running in every direction before I even get to the den. So I wouldn't be surprised if I get over this hill and next thing I'll see a bunch of hyenas running around. But it is a fairly warm morning. I don't have my koi on or my jacket. I think that is because the clouds are quite set in the sky, but they're not really you know, cold as in they're going to shower, it's going to rain. It's more like it's blanketing here, so it's keeping us quite warm. It's keeping all that earth kind of warmth underneath the clouds, so it's keeping us a little bit warm this morning before we go and see those hyenas. Well, if they're there, who knows if they're there? We don't know. Chris Roig said that he potentially saw something that was heard something, a leopard potentially on quarantine. Chris Roig, what we'll do is we'll go and check the hyena den and see if anything's there, and then we'll make our way around the back and see if there's any leopard tracks that have crossed in, and as soon as we find tracks, we'll try and work them as best we can and see what we might be able to find this morning. I wonder who it might be. It could very well be Tingana. I know Tingana's, I was tracking Tingana probably about 2 days ago with them. We were walking through the block just ahead of us here and went off into Buffelston. So, Chris, we shall look around and see if those tracks come onto the road anywhere. Very, very, very excited if I can see Tingana again. I haven't seen Tingana for a while. Austin would like to know, what would Jean-Ray and I do in a situation if a storm just broke out right now? Well, Jean-Ray, you're the cameraman, what would you do behind there?
Put the rain covers on.
You would get into a mode which you don't normally see. Jean-Ray get ready mode, and he'll just start piling all these rain covers on and making sure that the camera is safe, and as well as the VR rig, which is just to the left of us there. So we would just make sure that everything is safe when it starts to rain. So in my situation, I'll just check my books and everything and make sure. Of course, I'll help Jean-Ray where I can, but he's the expert behind the camera. I also have to cover the dash here, so I'll have to cover this monitor. And Elvis would take the rain, I think. Elvis is most elephants don't really have anywhere to go. Here we go, we're off to the hyena den. So, there doesn't seem to be any tracks around here at the moment. But what was fascinating is that those hyena were running into Buffelshoek, and some of them ran into Simbongili, at least like 3 or 4 of them that morning ran that way, and then two ran that way. So it was quite interesting to see them going their separate ways. And I started to read up more about hyenas and their kind of their just social structure in terms of how they get older and all of that. And you know, with lions are the most dominant out here in terms of the species that controls the ecosystem. It doesn't have to worry too much about other predators. Same as that is close to a hyena. Hyenas are very, very close to that sort of dominance. Like a lion will kill a hyena, but hyenas also, especially when in those packs, they're formidable creatures, and that's why it was fascinating to watch them just running all around. Even the youngsters running into Buffelshoek, because it just made me understand that the hyena has also a very, very big influence out here, and are formidable hunters as well as they are scavengers. So that is the spotted hyena. Enjoyed learning my hyenas since I've been here. So Chris Rogue would like to know. She would like to know if, well, she's saying that she loves going towards the hyena den every morning. She can spend days here because their social structure and their behavior is fascinating. And Chris, I can only agree with you. They just have a very, very different way of living out here. And, you know, like, it's fascinating is their postures and how they stand and how their forelegs are so much longer than their back legs, and that's what gives them that really weird running style. And I was reading also about that and how they rip into their kills, and it almost like their back legs are not really there, so they're powered up the top from the shoulders to their jaws. Very, very powerful jaws. And we found out the other day that those jaws aren't actually the most powerful out here in the wilderness, or in the world rather. We found out that the jaguar has a stronger bite and a stronger jaw than that of a hyena. I think it was something like 1,100 PSI, that's the word. And the jaguar is 2,000 PSI, which is fascinating to learn that, because I saw a jaguar last year and I remember thinking, I wonder who has a stronger jaw. And it's the jaguar, and that must be because the jaguar needs to hoist big lifts out in the Pantanal where there's lots of water in the Pantanal. And it's just, yeah, it's a much stockier looking leopard, really. I mean, that's all I remember from seeing it. It was very, very quick. I went on a night game drive and with a friend of mine, and we went looking for jaguar. Next thing I saw jaguar in the river, and it was swimming to the other side. And it was so quick, it was over. Okay, so we're nearly there. There's something here. It looks like there's an elephant. Just saw the trees moving. And it is a nice big elephant. Let's give some distance. Look at his ear. His one ear looks to be quite floppy. This is a very, very fascinating looking elephant. His one ear almost looks quite sad. What's he doing against this tree? He's rubbing himself there. Can you see that? So he is a very, very big male. And he is rubbing himself against this tree. Look at that. This is incredible. So what might he be doing? He could be rubbing some of the dirt off him that would have some of the ticks. He might have an itchy spot that he's trying to get rid of. That's why we see all that mud. You can actually see the mud below on the trunk of the tree. So he's been rubbing himself, and you can see there's quite a lot of dirt and dust around on him. So that's all being rubbed off. Oh, so that ear is fascinating though. Why is it lost? So I think they generally consists of cartilage in there. In those ears. Now he's really rubbing. Look at that. That is a perfect example of how an elephant likes to scratch itself on trees. That was very cool to see that. A nice morning scratch, and then very relaxed looking walk down the road. There he goes, look how big they are. I was actually, what's interesting, the elephant has 3 nails at the back on those hind feet there. There's 3 nails there, and there are 4 nails on the front feet, which is quite interesting. And we were learning last night how they use those nails to cut grass sometimes, and then pull them up into their mouth. Some birds flying around. You can see a fork-tailed drongo that's following this big elephant on the morning, and this drongo will be looking to collect any insects as the elephant walks on its merry way. Wasn't that a nice little encounter with an elephant there? Came around the corner and got to watch the nice morning scratch. Let's follow him slightly. He's going to be walking down this road very, very slowly, so we can kind of meander our way with him. And this is where the hyenas will be. What does he see? There's a common daker. That's just well done, Jandre. This is an antelope species that we don't often see out here in the bush. It's one of the smallest, so similar to that of the steenbok, which is very, very small. This is a common daker. And they are very skittish, which means that they don't like to be seen. So to be able to see this little antelope right now is such a nice little gift of the morning to see a common daker. And they are like, they almost look like they're diving everywhere. Daker means diving. So they run and they jump and they look like they're diving into the thickets and away, and they've got huge agility. But it's the one species that often gets eaten by the leopard. So let's go and follow this big elephant. Let's go and actually have a look at that tree that was being rubbed at. We can really, maybe we can see some ticks on the bark there itself. You can see how much that tree in front of us is really bent though. It's quite fascinating to see that. Okay, so he's not far ahead of us, he's still there. I can see him. So we'll go nice and slowly. There he is in the distance there. And this is where he was rubbing. So have a look at that. Quite a bit of mud on this wood here. You can see there's the bark. That bark allows for a nice scratching post. So they've got very, very thick skin, elephants. It's around 3 centimeters thick. And they'll come to these trees and they'll be full of mud, and they'll come scratch themselves against this tree. So I'm just looking to see if I can see any ticks that might be lurking around there. Because often you'll find ticks that might be sitting in that bark. So that is the tree that almost looks quite bent now. Look at the elephant now. He's still on the road, so we've followed him, seen where he scratches himself, and it now looks like he is ready to browse. We're not far from the hyena den now. It would be very interesting to see if the hyenas came out and what interaction would happen if the hyenas saw this elephant. And there he is browsing, a Breton tree over there. Cecilia from Buckinghamshire is asking, how do you protect all your gear, such as your camera and your VR rig, from the hyenas at night time? Well, Cecilia, the camera operators have their own little room where they look after the drones and they look after the camera pieces and the radios and all that sort of thing. So we're all part of that room as well. We all also look after it. And so we close the door so the hyenas don't get in there at night time. The hyenas might be able to get to the bins sometimes, but not to the camera operating room because we've closed it. Hopefully, everyone's closed it every evening. Have a look at this elephant who's getting up there with his trunk, breaking off something and eating. And what's also interesting is, I think the age of this elephant could potentially be around 12. I mean, this is a guesstimate here, but maybe around 12 years old, maybe more, because he is quite a big boy. But I mean, between 12 and 20 years, because what I've been reading and learning about is how elephants, in the breeding herds of elephants, how the young adolescent males will leave those matriarchal to the big breeding herds, and slowly but surely, around the age of 12 to 13, the males will leave, and they'll join with many different other males out here, and sometimes they can get up to bachelor herds of 10 to 12 of the young male elephants. And as they get older and older, I mean, there's been reportings of up to 50 males that will be together up in Tanzania and all that. So that was fascinating to read a little bit about that social structure of the male elephant and what it might do. But this one seems to be on its own. I can't hear anything else in the distance there. Lucy from South Bend, Indiana would like to know, will an elephant chase off a hyena? Well, Lucy, I've actually never seen it before, but if there is a number of hyenas that come into a close proximity of an elephant, I don't see why it wouldn't trumpet and show its ears and make those hyenas run away. So, I haven't seen that before, but that could potentially happen right now, because this elephant is not far away from that big hyena clan. That is, if the clan is present. So there he goes off into the distance here. We're going to follow him and see what we can find. But over here, where I'm looking over here, is the southern den. So the southern den hasn't been that active recently. So we can't actually drive up there anymore, because it's just, you know, we don't want to keep squashing that road and making it too much of a road. So they haven't been seen there. We'll drive past there and just here and have a look and see if we can see any of those hyenas. But my guess is that those hyenas are at the northern den. So let's go slowly towards the elephants as well, because the elephant is also close by. So if we're going to see an interaction between a hyena and an elephant, it's going to be down here. I think it was someone from Washington Mail, is that right? Mail from Washington would like to know, can a human being actually outrun an elephant? No, you know, I don't actually know what the biggest speed is of an elephant. Maybe probably around 20 kilometers an hour. So I haven't actually ever tried to run a race against an elephant, but that's an interesting fact that I could find out. I'm sure we probably could be a little bit more agile in our running style compared to that as an elephant. As you can imagine, 3 to 4 tons running, it's hard for them to move around. So I think we have the agility, but the elephant might have the pace. There's the elephant, it's right over here. So he stopped feeding because he wanted to know what we were. Cecilia is asking, it looks as if the elephant's ear is badly injured. Yes, Cecilia, the elephant's ear did look like a little bit floppy, and I think that could have been because of a fight between maybe another male, where the cartilage in the ear was actually broken or severed or just injured in some way that is causing that ear to flop down like that now. Look, he is really, really big. And he goes off around the next corner, so that's even closer to the northern den of the hyenas. It's a little bit of an interesting interaction we've got going this morning. We're following the elephant down the road with Mr. Ellie, Elvis the Ellie, Jean-Ray and Sam, following a big elephant that seems to have quite an injured ear. We've seen it rubbing itself against a tree now, and browsing on the different ingredients around here. there's also terminalia. So they also like to eat terminalia, which is sort of cluster, but it's not as nice. You won't see that many trees. The terminalia species being eaten by elephants. This is still here. So the elephant, sorry about that. The elephant is there. Now we can see a really... We've come across a hyena. There's a young hyena here. There it is. This is going to be interesting. Look how he's looking. He's looking straight at that elephant. There's another one here. There's two. This is incredible. This could be, we've just answered a question around elephants and hyenas, and now it looks like two of the cubs have ventured out of the den. This could be interesting. Sorry about that beeping. That is the sound of the VR rig that is making that noise. Okay, so the hyenas are getting closer. Have a look. Ooh, the one in the distance there just got a fright. I think they're quite curious. They seem to be quite curious of the elephant, the large elephant here, but the elephant is not paying much attention to these hyenas that are here. This is fascinating behavior. I don't think they've spent much time with elephants. Maybe this is why they're looking so curious. But this is interesting behavior. The elephant is still feeding, so it doesn't even look that worried about anything. So it must be that this den is active. And they're going to play with each other. Awesome. You can actually hear the sound of the hyenas in the distance there. There's another hyena that's coming out. There's a third one that's coming out of the thicket there. Isn't this incredible? It looks like all the young hyenas have come out to play. This is the only way I've seen the hyenas over the last few days. I haven't seen them at the den for over 2 weeks. I've only seen them outside, getting ready, looking at the world, being curious. So they're still standing here. I can still only see three. I just want to get into a position where we might be able to see more of what's going on. So the elephant's walking in this direction. The hyenas are not far away. We're going to get into a position where maybe we can see both of them. So there goes the elephant. The hyenas are still there. Switch off just because we don't know the activity of them. They're running, they look like they're playing. So it doesn't seem like the hyenas have come down, but it looks like they've gone towards that northern den over there. The elephant is still present. So it looked like those hyenas just came down just to see what this big, large animal was, and it was a big elephant. It was fascinating behavior to see that. 3 hyenas came down and had a look at this elephant. But I can still see them now. They're at the den. So we're going to sit here and see if those hyenas might come back towards the elephant and see that interaction. It's so cool that we spoke about that interaction. Now we're seeing it. Let's go and find out from Brent how he's doing. We're not leaving.
So exciting news, but don't get too exciting yet. Does Impala look way too calm? But I've just heard 2 very exciting bits of news. Well, we've been following lion tracks. Unfortunately, they went into Nkoro, and I've just heard they crossed chasing buffalo into Kruger. But there's also tracks of a pack of wild dogs around. They also went into Kruger, so I'm trying to zigzag my way towards the Kruger boundary, see if they possibly cut back in. We went and checked Cheetah Payne's Pan, being the only permanent water source close by. Unfortunately, nothing there. Those impala look a little bit too relaxed, but nonetheless, we're still going to make our way towards the Kruger boundary and see what's going on there.
Okay, I was just coming to make my way there now. There's also a dotting area on contract.
Sorry guys, just listening. Sounds like there's female leopard tracks, but in coral. Might be coming this way, so we'll maybe head back there later. And let's check for these wild dogs first. So apparently the wild dogs crossed just below this little river system into the Kruger, but they could easily loop back onto the boundary. Lots of impala around here, so if you're a wild dog, that's good news. Impala, are they looking a little nervous with life? Maybe. I'm going to switch off and listen for a second. Just the grey go-away birds and starlings making a noise. As impala look nice and relaxed, so. So I'm going to be moving quite quickly because we all know how far and how fast wild dogs can move. So, nice big open patch of sand here on the Kruger boundary, so a good place to spot tracks. Okay, so we're going to keep on our search. While we do that, let's go back to Sam.
So we are still with the elephant. The elephant's over there. It's not far away from us. It's walking right next to the den, the southern den where the hyenas are. I'm going to get to a position where we might be able to see if those hyenas are there. So that elephant is now walking into the open areas. They're the hyenas, so let's go and have a look. You can see them. It looks like they're following that elephant, interestingly. Or they might just do that, because I can see them coming to the bottom of the mound. Whoop. There's quite a few of them active. Yeah, they are. So the elephants in the distance there, the three hyenas are just coming out of the den. And they're very active this morning, as you can see. They're very curious. And they're just listening. So the elephant, if you look closely, is there. There is the elephant. You can just see the legs of that big male. And here's the one hyena has now come down to have another look at them. So it's just experiencing the world and seeing what these big animals are out here. Still being quite nervous. Look, he's just on his forearms there. He's got his ears out, listening. They haven't left contact with that elephant. There's the elephant. So the elephant is walking on the western side of these hyenas now. so cool to see this interaction between the two. So it's just three. I don't know where the elder hyenas are. So now the two of them are standing up and getting a little bit closer to this elephant, which is fascinating to see. Interested, very, very interested in how big this animal is. There's another elephant. There's a young elephant that's now coming into the area. So not only do we have, this is incredible, so there's that elephant and there's a smaller one right here. And it's actually walking towards the den. So just when we thought we only had one elephant, another one just popped out of the bush. And it's walking towards the den. We might have a little bit of an interaction between the younger elephant and these hyenas, because the curiosity might just come from both of them. Curious little hyena and a curious young elephant. Here comes this hyena. Coming close to our car. And it's just seeing that younger elephant now. I think he's... So, Brent is with a large breeding herd of elephants. They're going to be crossing into Kruger. Let's go and see Brent. We're not going to leave anyway.
So we're still on the Kruger boundary, and we've come across a big herd of buffalo, and they are moving into the Kruger. And unfortunately, they're going to keep moving, but there might be lions on the other end. So while you're having that fantastic sighting with Sam, the elephants, and the hyena cubs, we just thought we'd show you the buffalo quickly before they crossed into Kruger. We're going to go see if there were any lions behind them. So let's go back to Sam and that wonderful interaction.
So you managed to see a quick glimpse of that breeding herd with Brent. There's two elephants that were with us now. We cannot see. They've moved off into the distance, but we are still with these young, active hyenas that are running around the den. Well, this one is not, as you can see. This hyena is just on the ground. Just want to give them an update on the radio quickly. Good morning, this is Sam from WildEarth. I've just come down Aubrey's Road and the hyena den is active, and there are two elephants, one big male that is heading in a westerly direction by the den. So it's nice to see that they've grown. They're starting to get those significant looking spots now. And this is great because ever since I came here, since my interview, I was always just learning about them as a young cub, and now I'm starting to see these hyenas that are growing a little bit older and starting to experience and become a little bit more independent outside of the den. What would be interesting is if those elder females came back now. So it's quite funny, the one hyena here is trying to catch this branch. Yep, so they've just been playing with branches and playing with each other here by the den. So one of their strong, as we were chatting about earlier, are the jaws. So they will be playing a lot with their jaws, as you can see. They need to strengthen those jaws. So oh wow. Ooh, a little bit of frustration. It's awesome to be with these young hyenas now. They're looking a lot more similar now that they're growing a little bit older. So Chris, you must still be watching. We are with these hyenas. The interaction with these hyenas has been fascinating. All the way from them coming down to have a look at that elephant. at them now, just playing together outside the den. Betty would like to, or was commenting and noticed that hyenas are quite dark when they are younger, almost like black looking. And as they grow a little bit older, they develop those spots. So it's mainly within the first 2 to 3 months that the hyenas will be very, very dark in coloration. But as after 3 months, 3, 4, 5, 6 months into their growth, they start to develop not only that nice looking mane on top of the back there, but also those spots that you can quite clearly see. And the spotted hyena out of the hyenas are really the bigger of the three. So you get the striped hyena and the brown hyena. I've never seen either of the two, just the spotted hyena. Look at them playing, isn't this cool? Awesome. So these three hyenas are having a load of fun out here. So I'm really, really glad to be spending time with them. There's two that are just in the... There they are. They're coming back. Tim in Brazil would like to know, what is a drainage line? And I often talk about seeing leopards in drainage lines. Well, Tim, after we've spent time with these hyenas this morning, I'm going to get into a position to show you why I like to go down into those drainage lines to see those, and just to go down the den, just to show everyone what the drainage line looks like, because often you'll find leopards that are up in the jackalberry trees, or they kill something down there. And it's quite secretive in the drainage line, Tim. Look at this, isn't this fun? Sitting here with the den in the morning. It's been a long time since I've seen them playing. So Tim, we'll make our way down to the drainage line a little bit later, and I'll show you some of the characteristics of a drainage line that create a conducive space to other secretive animals such as the leopard. Sometimes you'll even find elephants that are sleeping in drainage lines. That's a very, very special sighting to see. As the elephants we just saw earlier, so they will walk around and they'll be active for about 16 hours a day, feeding. And for the rest of that time, they sometimes find a place to sleep, some around midnight. So we're going to sit with these hyenas just for a little bit longer, and we'll see what might happen if those elephants come back. But in the time being, let's head off to Steph and see how he's doing on bushwalk.
I mean, to steal you away from your hyena den activity. I know it's so special to see all those hyenas. We just wanted to say good morning this morning. My name's Stefan Winterboer, and on camera today is VM Doornbrach. And we have come all the way to the eastern side of Djuma this morning. We are walking around the Central Depression area. We're going to be unlocking whatever's over here. We've already seen 2 or 3 herds of elephant, so today is amping up to be one of those special days. But without further ado, we're going to be sending you... we're not going to be sending you straight through to Sam at the hyena den. He's just busy repositioning or something. So one of the things that is immediately apparent about where we're standing now is the fact that there are 3 trees on top of this termite mound. Trees that are relatively, not uncommon over here, but trees that you don't really see that often. And this is one of Sam's perennial favorites. We are looking at the false marula here. Now, the false marula belongs to a family of trees that's actually incredibly hardy trees. And in some parts of the country, these trees are used for fence posts and were once termed quite lovingly, I think, in the Afrikaans language as a kannie-dood. And a kannie-dood means that it can't be killed. Now, why this tree got that name was because They used to use these limbs as fence posts. As you can see, VM getting up nice and close to a dead branch there. But if you plant one of these branches, it had the uncanny ability of making leaves and giving roots. So what they used to do is they used to chop the branches here and there, and as you can see, this would make quite a nice fence post. And under normal circumstances, trees like that would just die and become a fence post. But these trees, this bough, will actually sprout leaves, sprout roots, and will start growing as a tree again. Can you believe it? So these live-long trees is another common name. Live-long tree, a canny do it, you can't kill it, or just the normal false marula. And they call it a false marula because it looks very similar to a marula tree with its bark that comes off in these patches. Now, why a tree has shedding bark is because this is the tree's skin. And you have any number of parasites that like to live on a tree's skin. You've got a lot of fungus, and then you've also got mistletoes as well. Now what this tree does is it peels its bark off in these squares. I'm going to find one that's ready to come off. Here's one that's ready to come off. As you can see, it came off. With this falling piece of bark will go all the mistletoe and all the fungus, and then the tree just grows a new bark. And so it keeps on popping off these squares of bark. And I actually only know of the marula tree actually that's in this area that does that. I suppose a leadwood as well to a certain degree, but this tree definitely one of the better examples of that popping off bark. And that is so that it sheds parasites off of its skin. Pretty similar to how I suppose a snake would have scales, I suppose. Quite nice, eh? Alright, let's carry on going down the road. We're trying quite hard to miss some elephant herds that are here. Not that I want to miss them and not show you, but it's definitely not wise to be in an openish area like this with a lot of elephant herds around. You need some elevation, you need a barrier, you need a termite mound or a drainage line or something like that. But Brent has got some updates for you. I know he's busy searching frantically for some wild dog on the boundary, but anyway, back to him.
So unfortunately, no sign of those wild dogs. They must have headed deeper into Kruger. But I did hear that there was a female leopard moving from Nkoro towards this spot. So I'm just going to take this. I need to try to listen where the vehicles are. So it's I think Sam has seen her in Kanyin, but apparently both her cubs are with her. So that's why we're sitting here patiently watching and listening and hoping she comes this way. And there's a Kruger anti-poaching flight over there. Now, that's called a bat hawk. It's an ultralight, so it flies very slowly, and they're able to check very carefully and see things. So there'll be two people in there, a pilot and a spotter. Yeah, coming towards us. I actually know the pilots of these anti-poaching flights quite well. Really great guys. Twin brothers, believe it or not. And they fly out of Hoedspruit. Copy, I've got the vehicle audio, so I'll just stand by here. Sounds like she's heading south. That's straight towards us. And we need to thank Shanae for this. She called me and told me there was a leopard on its way to Cheetah Plains. So we're going to look here. She should be popping out anywhere around where Dave is showing you at the moment. So while we sit patiently and wait here, let's jump back on with... Oh, just hang on a second. I see people
Just bypassing on my way to the lodge.
in here, in there. We should spot her any second now. A little bit to the left, Dave. And just looking for any little bit of movement. So there's that vehicle. There we go. There comes Shanae. Oh, she should be popping out any second now. So go to the left of the car there, Dave. Zoom. And do a slow, there, to the right, to the right. There we go, there she is. Nkanyena. She's a beautiful female. Now, there come the cubs. Isn't this exciting? Definitely going to have to dig out the camera. Oh, they're looking quite well fed, the little ones. So they are still in coral, that's why we're not going any closer. Isn't this special? Here come the little ones. If I remember correctly, there's a boy and a girl. I've seen them once before. They should be about 4 months old now. I'm going to walk right past Shanae. Look at her looking back, saying, come on, hooligans, keep up. Yeah, we'll get a nice photo for Shanae. Look at that, isn't that wonderful? We're just going to keep still. She is moving towards us. And look at those little round, rotund bellies. Obviously, Nkanyen's been keeping them well fed. Go parallel to her. These little guys are really relaxed, and they're over 4 months old now. Oh, there's a lazy one. Isn't this special? So I think this is the first time the cubs have been seen on the live drives. So unfortunately, in the area where we are at the moment, morning, Islanders. Our FC comms are a bit staticky, so I'm just going to ask them to repeat that again. So Angel Lady says, in Cayenne has the most beautiful tail. Oh, look at that shaft of light coming out from the clouds behind. Now, wouldn't it be incredible if that shaft of light was popping through right on them like a spotlight on a play? Now, she looks nervous. From what I heard, there were male leopard tracks, so there could be quarantine or another male around, and that's why she's moving these cubs. She could be trying to get away from a male leopard. I did hear about tracks of a male leopard nearby, and male leopards kill more leopard cubs than anything else, more than hyenas, more than lions. Just check over. She keeps checking over her shoulder. It might be worth our while if she does cross into Kruger, because she is heading that way, for us to go back and check towards 3 in a row pan. We're just going to go around so we don't block everyone's view. Morning, morning. So isn't this exciting? The first time in Cayenne's cubs have been seen. She keeps looking back over her shoulder. We're going to stop now. So here we go. And apparently Sam has finally found his jackal.
I've just found a jackal. Where did it go? We've got to be able, this is the first jackal I've seen on this property. It must have run off. Where's that jackal? Jean-Ray spotted it in the distance and then it ran into this thicket. Okay, we're going to see if we can find we'll drive the fire break and see if we can find that jackal again. In the time being, let's go and have a look at those cubs.
So she's just moving into a slightly wooded area now. We're just jumping up ahead again. There they go. Now, she's still on in coral at the moment. We're right on the boundary. There she goes. She's going to pop out into the open right here next to us. Look at those little ones. She's definitely nervous about something, and I think it could be those male leopard tracks that were called in a little bit earlier, and she's trying to get these cubs to safety. And the way she keeps staring back over her shoulder. So there's a little link road that comes up to the boundary. I'm just going to shoot around towards that. Oh, unless she changes her mind, comes straight towards us. Let me just wait 1 second. No, she's going to keep going towards there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to... guys ready for the first real close-up of the cubs. I'm going to park next to the boundary. To make sure I don't wander across it by accident. I'm not sure. Did she disappear? No, here she comes. Look at this. So Aqua's wondering, why would she have chosen such an open area to walk through? It's so exposed for the little ones. Well, Aqua, it's the quickest way to get away from whatever the potential threat she's moving away from is. So that's the little girl next to her at the moment. I think the little boy is lagging. They're walking straight towards us. They're going to come literally pass almost on top, like right next to us. Isn't this just the best? Look here. Look at that. Look at that shit right here. We've got a cub. It looks like the cubs are going to cross either side of us. That's in Canyon. Oh, you can hear that little contact call. Ooh. Now we've got decisions. Here's the little boy, and behind Dave is the little girl, but we'll stick with the little boy. Absolutely magic. There they go. We're going to have to reposition. Morning, Vo. Sharp, how are you doing? Is she running from a Wanuna? Or?
Yeah, running from Wanuna.
Which one? Do you know which one? Shivambalan. Okay. So there we go, guys. There's the answer. And we're going to just move now. Thanks, Vo. So it seems like Shivambalan is back there. And, of course, if he happened to come across those cubs, he would kill them. So we just need to do some interesting driving. Sorry, I do need to listen to the radio. I just got to make sure. See where she is. There she is. And we might get stuck in a thicket, but I will try to get around to next to her again. Isn't this soil here lovely as well? This bright red soil. One of the only places we get the soil. Okay, so while we try to get back into position, let's jump back on board with Sam.
Wow, how has this morning started already? We've seen hyenas, we've seen an elephant, and we've seen interaction between the two. I just spotted a jackal. It's my first jackal. Actually, who spotted it was our friend Jean-Andre at the back here. I was looking left, right. Then all I knew was a jackal standing in the middle of the road. And the next thing I knew, it was gone. And it ran through here. So hopefully maybe we can go it back to you. But in the meantime, we're going to see if we can relocate on that jackal. And now you're sitting with Inkanyeni and her cubs. That's just amazing. I'm very, very happy for you all. I really wanted to see her and her cubs. I've been going, that's like the main reason, one of the main reasons I keep going back to Tudor Plains is because I want to see those beautiful cubs of Inkanyeni. I will have my time, but I'm so excited, so incredibly happy that you're all getting to witness that beauty of Nkanyeni and especially her young cubs. Okay, so we are coming out into this open area now. Hopefully maybe that jackal has run. Ooh, quick link. Let's go and see how Brent's doing.
There we go. There she is. She's moving slightly further away from the boundary now. She's moving deeper into Nkoro. We will try see if we can see her for as long as possible, but I think we are going to lose her now as she cuts further north into the block with those two gorgeous little cubs. Oh dear, I was really hoping she was going to come south. Oh, Dave thinks he spots some spots. Oh man, wasn't that special? Unfortunately, not as long as we'd like. They never are when they disappear. But yay, babies! Very exciting. Now, why don't we have a gander back up towards where she's coming from? Maybe we'll get another new leopard on camera today, Shavambalan. Okay, so I can't really, as I said, this area is quite bad for comms, but someone's asking what size are the leopard cubs in comparison to a domestic cat. They're a bit bigger, actually. They're quite a bit bigger than a domestic cat. Already, these guys should be 4 or 5 months, if I remember correctly. And so they're much bigger. They're already probably nearly double the size of a domestic cat. Hi. She went through there. Thanks very much. Now I owe you.
That's all right. Glad you guys enjoyed it.
Yes. Quickly, before she runs away. There you go. Wave hello, Shanae. There you go. Cheers. Okay, so I said we're in a really bad comms area, so I'm battling to here. I think we're going to jump across to Steph on Bushwalk. If we don't, then it's Sam, and I apologize. But we're going to go see if we can find Shavambalan.
There's absolutely nothing that I can do to compete with the sighting like you've just had. Isn't that wonderful? Leopard, cubs, mother walking past the car, big stories from Brent. I'm sure that it's a bit of an anticlimax almost coming to me this morning on the walk. What we do have is you've got quite a nice view, and that's about the only thing nice that we've got. But we're also flanked by some peltiforums. Now, it's quite rare to see peltiforums, and this is the African weeping wattle. Quite rare to see them such large trees together, but they almost always have something special to see. And if you go a little bit closer, and we can come and have a look through these very soft velvety leaves, they make quite a nice bedding when you're sleeping out in the bush. I almost always look for peltiforums close by before I make camp. Have a look here. Ah, here we go, Viam. So here's a spider that's made a home inside these leaves. In this one here, right in here. And I almost, right here, we're going to see if we can see the spider that's inside that home there for you. You see it or not? I think it's a bushveld sack spider. She has folded up these leaves and she's made a retreat for herself. And I think, as far as I can see from where I'm standing now, it looks like that she's on the roof of this little silken retreat. And quite often at night time, spiders will build themselves a home. This one's a little bit too elaborate for me to be a one-night home. This to me looks like it's the home of this particular spider. And she's taken some time to put these leaves together and spin it for herself. It looks like something that she does, it looks like something that's more home than anything else. And so what that leads me to believe is this little spider hunts this particular bush. And that's where she'll live until she gets brushed off, until the plant breaks, until the leaves fall off. They can move, they do move. But in this particular case, I think she hunts this bush. So you probably find that during the day she comes out and she combs through the leaves, just like Viam's showing you over there, looking for things that are hidden amongst the foliage. Things like praying mantises, because here we have an ootheca of a praying mantis. Now an ootheca is this spongy, almost polystyrene feeling egg sac, and that is the egg case of a praying mantis. So this was from last season. They make this sort of foamy secretion from their abdomen that upon contact with air becomes hard. And what that does is it protects the eggs and it protects the youngsters. When the youngsters hatch out of their eggs, they secrete an enzyme which then turns this foam back into a liquid again and allows them to come out. And you get a whole bunch of baby praying mantises around. What we're doing here in this area is we're trying our best to try and thread our way through two different herds of elephant. Where we're going now, as you saw just now from the view, and what you can see from behind me there, it's quite open and it doesn't actually give us much cover at all. When you track an elephant, what you've got to try and do when you're getting close to them is you've got to try and look for termite mounds, you've got to look for drainage lines, things that give you a bit of a barrier between you and these ellies. So for now, we're just trying to work our way through them and pick up what little we can as we go along. But we're finding all these little jewels out here, and that's because there's a lot of hardwood. And hardwood, in general, is quite good for finding surprises. Now this just has a bunch of ants. Doesn't have too much else going on. And it was, of course, because I tried to predict what we were going to find over here. That's just my luck as it goes. And so what we'll do is we'll carry on looking for something else while we carry on going. And Elaine, while I'm busy combing through the undergrowth over here, good morning Elaine, you wanted to know, do we find any snakes in the undergrowth out here? Yes, you do. It's not common to find snakes though, Elaine. Generally, or crossing the road either, how we generally find snakes here is either crossing the road while you're driving the car, or with birds mobbing them. That's another very common way of finding snakes. Or funnily enough, in the camp. The area where you'll find the most snakes is in the camp. And saying that, I mean, last year we probably had, I don't know, 10 or 12 sightings of snakes in this dry season. What do you think, Viam? Probably not more than that. So you won't find more than 24 snake sightings in your camp a year. And then you have your odd occurrence. I know this year during drives we've had black mamba quite a few times on drive. We've had boomslang quite a few times on drive, but nothing much else. We've had one or two other little small snakes, and that's about it. That's about as common as what snakes are out here. That's a normal year for us out here, Elaine. So I'm going to keep on combing through the undergrowth. There's a chance that you bump into something over here. All right, I just have to say thank you to Safari Dean there for the nice comment that you sent through there about me being something similar to a Google. Although I'd tend to disagree with you, Safari Dean. What I'd urge you to do is absolutely double check all the facts that I give you. But on that funny note, we're going to send you through to Sam for an update.
So we are now on Triple M cut line with Arethusa to our right, and we are moving down towards possibly the airstrip of Arethusa, but we're going to go first on Impala Road and check if there's any tracks maybe of shadow that might be lurking in the area. It's been a very, very fun morning of cats so far. You've managed to see some young cubs and a beautiful leopardess, so that's very, very exciting. You're going to see it's been, all of a sudden this morning, just kick-started into gear, first gear straight away. All sorts of things as it's just started. So what an exciting morning. What might be able to find this morning? So we've also got an update from the very west here around some other leopardesses. so we'll see if we can find them. Mary Ellen would like to know which jackal is larger, either the side-striped jackal or the black-backed jackal. Well, Mary, the black-backed jackal will feed on much bigger animals in terms of, will eat termites and stuff, but also try and be a little bit more carnivorous, and it kind of goes in the same, will eat dakas, for example, and potentially will try and kill the steenbok, whereas the side-striped jackal doesn't. It only really goes for little berries and things like that. So the blackback is a little bit bigger. It has a dark, obviously a big black back of the jackal. So from what I've noticed, the blackback is a little bit bigger than the side stripe, but I've never put them and contrasted them in one sequence. So it'll be interesting to just follow up on that and really see that. Maybe we'll get to see that in person. I've only ever seen the side striped jackal. I've never seen the blackback jackal. So hopefully one day I get that wonderful privilege to see that. But here we go. Let's get off this main road and see what we might be able to find on the Impala clearings. So I heard that Brent is off to go and see another leopard. Wow, so 3 leopards in one morning. What an exciting morning he's having on Chile Plains. So he's off trying to find the other leopard. I think it's a leopardess, I'm not too sure. It could be a male or female, I don't know what leopard he might be looking for, but that's very, very exciting. Shibambalan. So Shibambalan is a dominant male. I haven't had the privilege of seeing Shibambalan, but hopefully one day I might be able to. Alright, so we're in a nice open area. Doesn't seem to be much on the open areas this morning. There goes an impala off into the distance there, doing his little rut, his morning rut. Let's see, we're going to see if we can find anything this morning. I mean, we've got leopard already, so we'll see what else we can find. I mean, the wilderness will show us what it wants to, just like that side-striped jackal just jumped in front of our vehicle, which is very cool to see that. And you just never know what you're going to see. Whatever corner you turn. And this morning we just turned a corner and there was a huge male elephant, and then next thing, hyenas. And Kyle has just listed everything that we've seen this morning, from leopard cubs to hyena cubs, all the way to, well, we didn't manage to follow up on that jackal, but it did run past our vehicle, elephants and all else. So maybe we'll see if we can find some birds as well, Kyle. They will make a nice diverse morning drive, from leopards to birds to hyenas. And you can start to notice that everything around us is starting to turn into that autumn color, my favorite colors, going into the autumn time, and the leaves will start to fall, and these areas will become a lot more open. So tracking animals becomes a little bit easier out here, or merely just spotting an animal becomes a little bit easier. Especially when you are following lines that are trailing a buffalo herd. So it doesn't seem like anything's around here at the moment. But there are very, very different types of trees in this area. So you actually see lots of silver cluster leaves here and round leaf teaks. The elephants love the round leaf teaks, and there's actually elephant tracks now all over the road here. And we were sitting with a huge herd of elephants last night, so 60. So they very well might have come up into this area and start grazing and feeding. And it's incredible to think about the kind of impact that both buffalo and elephants have on landscape, and how they open up areas and stomp. So what do we have here? We've got, looks like some more hyena tracks. So I'm just going to track for a second. Let's see what I can see down here. It looks like we've got some hyena tracks that are heading to this side of us. So what's also been fascinating is getting to know those hyenas a bit more outside of the den. Most of the time we've sat with them at the den playing and watched them doing their thing there, but following them, it's like almost following wild dogs. It's such a fascinating experience. Alright, so we're now coming to our four-way crossing here. Just going to see if there's any tracks that might be crossing. There's no tracks here. So there's another open area that we're coming up to, and this is Rebecca's Road. So Rebecca's Road will take us all the way into the east and towards Buffelshoek. And we're going to have a look in these open areas. Potentially there might be something like a wildebeest that will be walking the plains, or the open area rather. And yesterday we just had the most magical sighting of ostrich with wildebeest and then zebra in the background. Luke from South Dakota would like to know, do the rosettes on a leopard, which otherwise known as the spots are on cheetah, rosettes are on leopards, do they change much as they grow older? It's a good question, Luke. I don't think so. I don't think that they change that much. I think they are born with a spot pattern, so they have that spot pattern here. So you must have been referring to that spot pattern. That won't change throughout their life unless they got into a fight or something and it changed. So I think we might see some track. What have you seen there, genre? The leopard tracks. Okay, I'm just going to check with you. I see some hyena tracks here. There, okay, cool. Okay, I'm just having a quick look at these tracks. We're going to follow this road a little bit more. There could be a leopard in the area. Just listen to the sound of any alarm calls from monkeys or birds that might be telling us. Even a kudu will alarm call through a bark, or a nyala. Got tracks of a giraffe as well. So good. I can't see anything in that distance down there. But looks like there's a little bit of rain all the way down in the distance there. That's where the sun would have risen this morning, but because it's been quite a cloudy morning, we haven't seen the sun pop up. It really is quite a bit warmer in the mornings when the sun doesn't pop up and these clouds just hold that energy. We've just got another lonely impala here. But it's also interesting to see what kind of behavior that impala might be in. So it looks quite relaxed as it sits there. Let's have a quick look. That's a nice, good-looking male impala. You can see that the impala is looking quite relaxed. So yeah. So there doesn't seem to be anything that is lurking around here at the moment. It's interesting to see. Is he on his own, or is there some females around him? Because it's still during the rutting season where these males will be grouping the females. I can't see any other impala around us at the moment. So let's head on and see what we might be able to find around these corners. I really enjoy driving this road because you have such a good opportunity to look around and see what might be moving here. So now we're starting to go into the more deep bush, a lot more thick. So when you're in these thickets, you've got to try and pay attention to what might be around. And it's always important to look. Ooh, just hold on. Some more tracks here. Okay, so let's continue. It's also, as I was saying, it was important to not only look at the ground where the tracks of the leopard might be. We can have a look at the termite mounds and the trees where a leopard might be lying on top, or lying on top of, in the tree or on a termite mound. So we're looking everywhere. But in the meantime, while we do that, let's go and see how Brent is doing on cheetah plains.
Wasn't that just wonderful, being able to see that female and those two cubs. Incredible. I'm on an absolute high at the moment. So what Dave and I are doing now is we're going to head back down towards the south. The tracks of that male Shivamba line have not crossed into Cheetah Plains. They're still in Nkoro. So we're just going to go have a gander to what's happening on the southern boundary of Cheetah Plains, check for Gnormless Gnorman the Gnu and his friends, and then after that we might head towards the western sectors of Cheetah Plains around, I know, very confusing, an area called the Djuma Dam, and we're going to go have a look there and see if there's any sign of the Styx lionesses. We're just to the west of there last night. Positive 4. There we go. Nyari is a makulu shambi akolden at CP Malamala Kruger. Maybe 300-400. Just moving around eating. Exactly. And Lutumanga. Okay. Cheers, enjoy, guys. So there we go. Sorry, just giving Andres a quick update. He's looking for buffalo. So I was telling him where the buffalo, and he's looking for zebra, which we haven't seen. But he's just checked the big Cheetah Plains open area, so probably not worth going back there again. So we're going to go opposite direction and see if we can find any sign of the Styx lions. So while we keep checking the southern boundary of Cheetah Plains, Sam has got a bird of prey.
So we have found an eagle this morning. It looks like a brown snake eagle. That was incredible to see that fly. But now that it's got up, we can see quite clearly the white underneath and the dark head there. Awesome. So we've just seen a bird fly. That was a magnificent shot. So what I got from the colorations there was black and quite a significant white underneath its wing. So we can have a look at the book quickly at brown snake eagle and see what the coloration might look like, just to see if it is that. So I'm just going to go to eagle. So it's always important to try and distinguish the characters of what you are seeing. So at first I thought it could have been a tawny eagle from a distance, but I noticed that there was no yellow bill there. And that's what identifies, that's what you can tell when it's not that. Okay, I'm just looking for it here. Brown snake eagle, top left. So I don't think it was the brown snake eagle because it had that significant white over here and it had a black top. So I did see that though. I did see quite a lot of white. Do you remember seeing a bit of white on the front breast of that bird and a dark top? I've never seen a black-chested snake eagle, but it could very well have been that. Because it is in this area. You can see the distribution that they are seen in this area. So maybe it is that, maybe it's not. We'll have a look a little bit later when I go back, just to confirm on those colorations and the characteristics that we saw when it flew there. So there was also white under those wings and a black back. So that we might need also another bird book for this, because this one only shows us one picture of it. So that was awesome, and it's always exciting to see a new bird. I mean, it probably isn't the brown snake eagle. It could have been the one that we just saw beneath that. So we'll have a look in the book later and we'll confirm exactly what eagle that was. That was incredible to see that. Did you see that flying? It's incredible. So we're going to head off in this direction, see what we might be able to find this morning. Let's head off to Steph and see how he's doing on his bushwalk.
Now, walking through this barren wasteland that is this area where we are at the moment, we've found this very inauspicious piece of grass, or piece of leaf litter, for lack of a better word. that, what you're looking at there, is a locust. I'm going to point out the grass quickly for VM to find it. It is actually so camouflaged that it is tough to see. At the point of my grass is a locust. Have a look at that. So camouflaged. I mean, that's just bouncing you in on that double zoom. Wow, look at that detail. That's just incredible. Now, obviously, with the camouflage that this grasshopper has, it's not jumping away from us because it relies on cover and concealment to stay hidden amongst this leaf litter. But to be honest with you, that piece of leaf that's on there by his head, that's about the only cover that this grasshopper's got at the moment. And he's even got a color stripe through his eye. Can you believe it? The whole object of camouflage is to try and break up your outline, and that's why they have that sort of mottled look on camouflage, and it gives you that broken outline, that broken shade. That, wow, VM, well done, man. And it is right next to what's actually quite possibly one of the most colorful things out here at the bush at the moment. It's an African violet. Now, African violets are quite common as nursery plants at the moment. You're finding them almost all over the world in gardens. They're grown quite easy, but here you're looking at an African violet in its absolute home range. This is exactly where it should be growing. Have a look at that. To go from something that's staying its best to stay hidden to something that is trying its best to be noticed. And as you can see, that they are angled up towards the sun, and that's because the type of insect that it attracts is a flying insect. So they're pollinated probably by either flies, moths, or butterflies, and they need to, from the ground, they need to show a picture, a reflection up into the sky. A lot of the insects see into the electromagnetic spectrum much wider than what we can. And funny enough, some seabirds do as well. So a lot of insects see into the infrared and the ultraviolet portions of the electromagnetic spectrum that are excuse me, that are lying outside of the visible light spectrum. So of the electromagnetic spectrum, we have a portion of the light, or of that spectrum, that's visible light. That's what we're quite sensitive to. But on either side of that, on the low wave side, you've got infrared. On the high wave side, you've got ultraviolet. And animals and some birds can actually see into those spectrums. Isn't that amazing? Things like, there are also some oceanic marine creatures that can see into the spectrums as well. But this, what you're looking at here with this African violet, it would reflect not only color, which is what we can see, but it also reflects ultraviolet, and that'll be attractive to different things. Very awesome. And then VM, I found another one of these locusts. It's amazing when you just stand still. I mean, even in this, like I was saying, this barren wasteland, we've got another stone locust right here, and this one's different from the one that we've just shown you. You're going to have to come around the other side. If you go stand over there, it is right here. Have a look at this guy. Different, obviously, it doesn't have that same dark brown covering. It's got a lighter brown covering and is rougher. So this one almost looks like a rock. Have a look at that. That is a locust. Even his eyes are rough. No, his eyes are smooth. That's amazing. Stone locusts. Katrina's asked us a nice question. What's the difference between a locust, a grasshopper, and a cricket? Well, the easy way to do that is a locust and a grasshopper are generally the same thing. Locusts generally feed on a general plant matter, whereas grasshoppers generally feed on plant matter, or on bushes, trees and shrubs, not grass. And the crickets are nocturnal. So the two differences, grasshoppers can become locusts in swarm functions, But generally grasshoppers are smaller, locusts are bigger, they also swarm, and crickets are nocturnal. So I hope that answered that. It was a pretty easy one. But have a look at that, eh? Yeah? And that's just, we want to show you how bare this piece of land is. I mean, the closest tree or bush to us is probably about 20 yards away, except for the scraggly one that we're sitting next to. And Viam and I challenged ourselves to find something interesting on this bare patch of earth. And we found 3 things that were very interesting on this bare patch of earth. And that's notwithstanding the little spiders and things that we're missing. Anyway, I think challenge 1, Viam, what do you think? I mean, standing where we're standing, you can't see anything, but there's crickets, grasshoppers, spiders, African violets, everything going on here. Anyway, let's carry on going. Elephants have changed this, as well as the drought, into a pretty barren area in terms of plant life. Where we've been walking close to the camp, there's lots of bushes. And I was just contrasting yesterday's walk, where we're threading our way constantly through bushes from left to right. Here, Viam and I can pretty much walk where we want to walk, which is exactly what I'm going to do now. James Richards has just asked me a fantastic question on why birds of prey, in particular large eagles, take so long to reach sexual maturity. James, it's got to do with how long it takes to A, learn how to hunt the prey that they hunt, and B, generate the muscle strength needed to pick that prey up. Birds in general operate in a very, very narrow weight band, a couple of 100 grams for massive raptors. Too fat, they don't fly. Too skinny, they don't have the energy to fly and hunt for themselves. And so birds have to regulate their weight more than what supermodels have to regulate their weight, I'm imagining. But because of that, these eagles have to generate a massive power to weight ratio. They have to exercise their muscles. They have to become super lean and super strong. And that takes time. These eagles take time to A, get their bodies as big as what they need to, and B, get those muscles exercised. And things like, the one that's the longest is the harpy eagle, a relative of the crowned eagle that we have here. The harpy eagle also is an equatorial eagle hunting monkeys and sloths. They take 2 years. Parents take 2 years to feed a baby enough and for it to exercise enough to get out of the nest. I hope that answered your question there, James. It's got to do with weight, and it's got to do with the size of their prey that they need to catch and kill, and their power to weight ratio, which needs to be very, very dense. All right, let's carry on going. Let's see what else we can pull out of these bushes. Now you might be wondering, what am I looking for as I'm busy walking through the bush here? I'm looking for movement. Things that triggers my interest is something that moves. And that's how I'm able to see things walking around in the bush, and how I'm able to see insects and creepy crawlies crawling around in the grass litter. So as I'm walking through, I am training myself to look for movement. And as soon as I see some movement, I'll stop and I'll investigate whatever it was that gave me that movement. But while I'm doing that and looking for something else that's alive, we're going to be linking over to Sam, who's got an update for you.
So we have just had another look at the book here, and we think it could very well be a juvenile martial eagle, what we just saw. So that was an incredible sighting from a distance. I mean, we said that it was first we said it could be the brown, I think it was a black-chested snake eagle, which is that one over here, just because we could quite significantly see that white underbelly there. But then we thought, we had another look, and it could also very well have been the juvenile martial eagle. So that's fascinating to see that. And what's so cool about martial eagles is they can grow into really, really big looking birds. And the biggest recorded kill that they've made is on a daker, which is around 37 kgs, a 37 kg daker, which is really, really interesting. I mean, one day we might just be sitting watching a martial eagle and a daker might run past. I often have those fantasies to see wildlife in its rawest form. I love eagles. Eagles are really, really my favorite. Well, just I love watching an eagle, so it just makes me quite happy, just purely because of my experience that I've had with the black eagles in Cape Town. Just fascinating, and they've just got such a different kind of, there's a steenbok. So we've just spoken about how martial eagles might be able to kill something small, like a common duiker. So it could also quite easily kill one of these small little steenboks. That was cool, hey? You see how quick they can run and they bounce like that? That is the agility that they have to get from any predator that might be lurking around these bushes. Nice little steenbok. So it's always great to spot an eagle in the distance there. And much like Steph was saying on bushwalk now, when looking in the bushes, looking for any kind of movement, that's sometimes your best way of finding something. You just look and you can hear or see movement. So we are now on Shabam Road. We're going to continue down towards the Little Gowrie to see if there's any tracks there of shadow that might have crossed over. If we're lucky, we might just see a beautiful leopardess. This is exactly where I was with Jandre a couple of weeks ago, and we were with Karula, and Karula drank here at the pan that's next to us, and she drank and she carried on off down the road, and it was just such a special sighting because it was my first time with Karula. I was very, very nervous. The first leopard I'd seen in 2 years, 1.5 years in the bush, and it was the beautiful looking Karula. Let's have a look around here to see if we can see anything, any tracks that might be lurking around this area. So the sun has just popped out, which is quite nice. Just looking to see if there's any tracks that might be coming out of Little Gowrie. Quite a few elephant tracks. Actually, a number of them. So we haven't seen many lions on our property at the moment, but I heard that they're on Buffelshoek side. Sandy from Canada is asking, would a female leopard, go to a male when protecting her cubs? Sandy, I've never seen that happen before. Sometimes the male leopard will come in towards a female for a little bit of social interaction between them, but mainly the male leopard doesn't. Steph is with something that's quite interesting, but finishing that, male leopards will sometimes spend time with the females, but not often. Very, very quick interactions, and then it's over, Sandy. So that's a quick one on that. Steph is something with something very, very cool. So let's go and see how he's doing.
As you'll notice, my head will be on a swivel, looking around everywhere, trying to see if there's more elephant. Okay, he's standing still. Watch out, Jeff. stood still to oblige us. Now constantly what we're doing is checking for wind direction. With this elephant, it's a young male elephant. Usually young male elephant of about this age, around about 10 to about 12 years old, are on the periphery of herds on the outside. Now for those of you who are new viewers to this particular show, you'll see that we don't get very close on foot, and I'm also whispering. And that's because the elephant are vastly more dangerous on foot than in a vehicle. And it sounds foreign. Why would vehicles not attract the aggressive attention from elephant, but people on foot would? And it's quite easy to answer. People in vehicles haven't harmed these elephant in the past 100 years, whereas people on foot have been hunting elephant for thousands and thousands of years. And you can see he's totally unaware of our presence, and that's how I'd like to keep it. Elephant, and any animal that you view on foot, should be our primary goal, not to engage and not to disturb these animals. It's just so wonderful to spend time with them. I can hear more elephants in front of me, not too far, probably 100 meters or so, 100 yards, and you can just hear one. So this elephant, that's just confirmed. This elephant is absolutely at the back end of a breeding herd. And it's something akin to having a teenage son. You'll notice when you're walking through a shopping centre, teenagers, almost always, I think he got wind of us. Yeah. So that tail up display was simply because the wind swirled and he caught a faint gust of us. So I can now pick up my voice a little bit. What we're not going to do is follow him into that thick bush. He's obviously alerted to our presence. Not too bad. I think he didn't see us at all. He just got a little bit of a gust of wind from us. And it was because the wind died down. And when wind dies down, columns of air move downhill. And he got just the faintest whiff of us. And you saw him pick up his head there, the tail of his cocked to the side, and he lifted his head, and then he went off to the rest of his family. What we don't want to do is now go and walk in there after him. It's an alerted elephant, it's thick bush, not very much cover, and we had a brilliant sighting. We're going to pull out and we're going to go and see if we can see something else too. But that elephant on foot, I'd say probably about an 8 out of 10 if I were to judge myself on elephant sightings. Let's carry on going here. So WildEarth Girly has just asked me if I could find her a spider. And yes, WildEarth Girly, while I was busy trying not to get squashed by an elephant, I was not looking for a spider. But here's one right here, just for you. A tiny orbweb spider, no bigger than the head of a pin. And we're going to see if we can get VM to look at it. The wind is gusting terribly. Can you get in there, VM? There we go. Now that is tiny. To give you an example, I'm going to put a grass head of a grass stalk behind it. And you can see that even just the faintest movement of my hand is causing massive shaking and gyrations. Tiny little orbweb spider. So I hope that answered your question there, WildEarth Girly. I don't know what spider it is. I know it's an orbweb spider. You'd need a magnifying glass to try and get any diagnostic features there. And I hope you like that. Anyway, we're going to link back to Sam. He's got an update for you.
So we are moving off towards Arathusa, and we are looking to see what we might be able to find on the airstrip this morning. We just found out that those lions are definitely on Buffelshoek, around Buffelshoek cut line going into Buffelshoek, so we won't be able to see the Inkarumas this morning, but that gives us the opportunity to maybe go find another jackal on Arethusa, or potentially anything else that might be lurking around there. Maybe we'll have the Secretary Airlines again this morning. It's quite bumpy over here as we drive. So we've had quite a fantastic morning, all sorts of different things. We're trying to see if there's any tracks around here. So we had a very, very brief sighting of a jackal, the side-striped jackal that came, jumped into our screen, and then it just ran off and ran away, and I couldn't find it again for a live little segment on the jackal. That's okay. I was so excited. Jean-Andre, how excited was I? I couldn't even speak properly. I was like, it's a jackal. So that was a very, very exciting experience to see the jackal. But let's go and find one on Arethusa. Maybe we can go and see one here. We might just find one on the plains. I'm also hoping to find some Inyala this morning. I'd love to sit within the Inyala, just because I did a drawing of the Inyala last night, just to learn a little bit more about the social structure of it, and how it likes to be in the thick bushes, but also particularly the younger bulls and how they start interacting with each other, and how they play is based around this piloerection, where they lift up the hairs on the back of a Inyala. So we've seen quite a few Inyala around this area, and I know we once saw, I was sitting at somewhere down here, and there must have been about 10 Inyala and 10 Impala that was standing on a termite mound. It's quite a funny experience to watch that. But all the male Inyalas started to do that, and I was so curious because I'd never seen that before. So maybe we'll get to see that along here. Starting to get to know Arethusa a bit better, and this is where we saw Saligeshi in the western side, in that drainage line. It was myself and Dave, and it was truly a magical sight with that female leopard. So we've seen Inkanyeni this morning. Maybe if we are lucky, we'll be able to see that, the infamous Saligeshi again. So let's slowly move towards those plains. So, how incredible was this morning? We had reports that the wild dogs were moving onto wild plains. So, well, not wild plains, cheetah plains. So Brent could have had 3 leopards and wild dogs running around cheetah plains. It's incredible how that can work sometimes. Brenda would like to know, with lion behavior and movement, how do they work? Well, interestingly, the lions don't follow a kind of food pattern. They will go to a place where they can find food, but it's more territory that they're looking for. So of course, food and water will be it will be a better territory if there's more food and there's more water, basically. So the male lion's always trying to find the most dominant, the best access to land, and when it gets that land, it'll then territorial mark. So it'll walk that land a number of times, mainly during the night time, during the nocturnal times, and in between walking and scent marking and all the different plants and trees around there, it'll also give off a nice strong roar. That's to let other male lions know that that is their dominant area, but it also is a way in which they communicate with their other coalition, with other males in that coalition. So the other night we actually saw that. We saw a male lion roaring to another male lion that was on the other side of Buffelshoek, which was the other Birmingham boy, which was just a fascinating thing to see. So, Brenda, of course, food and water is a very, very important part in terms of developing territory, but mainly when they're walking around at night time, it's not about looking for that food, it's also about defending the area where that food is. So that is an answer to that. So we're about to come to the open areas, well, to the airstrip now, and potentially we might be able to see something quickly. So let's pay attention when we get onto that open area. I'd love to see that secretary bird again. I know that we don't see the secretary bird often, but it would be nice to see it again. There's quite a different morphology in this area in terms of the way in which the land is. There's just some impalas that are in front of us here. Well, a male and some females. So we saw one lonely male earlier. Now this is an impala with a couple other females. So it's holding this harem together. As I said a few times, is that these male impala need to be careful, because while they're trying to look after these groups of females that they have, they don't have time to groom themselves and look after themselves or even browse, because they're trying to mate with all these females. So it makes them very susceptible to the dangers of the bushveld, such as the predators, lions and leopards. So they need to be quite careful. So let's continue on towards the airstrip. Let's see if something might be lurking around there. Justin would like to know, how is this elephant doing and how do I keep it from falling over? So I think you also asked, where did I get it from, Justin? Justin, it's actually my dad's little elephant. My dad is also very interested in the bush and all the beautiful things that are around here. And it was in my room, and I took it on my travels down to this area, because I live quite a long way away from here, Justin. I live in Cape Town. And so I came down with the elephants, and I've decided to put it on my car. And also my best friend, his name was Mike McMillan, and he loved elephants, and he passed away when I was around 22 years old. And whenever I'm with an elephant, it reminds me of Mr. Mike, my really, really good friend. And why it doesn't fall off is because I put some press stick over there, and then I put them on there. So press stick is a type of, I don't know if you get press stick in the States or if there's another name for press stick. But press stick is basically a little white substance that's sticky, and you can stick pictures on the wall and all sorts of stuff like that. So we are now on the airstrip. Let's go and see if we can board the airlines of Secretary Airlines. Maybe we can find a secretary bird. Okay, Sarah would like to find 2 more birds to get to 45 on her list. Sarah, let's go and do that. We did see what looked like a juvenile martial eagle. I'm not sure if you managed to see that, or if you could write that down on your list. But let's go and see what we can find this morning, Sarah. Especially on these plains, we're gonna find some of the ground nesting birds, such as a lapwing. I don't know if you have a crowned lapwing or a Senegal lapwing, because I'll see if I can get that for you, because those will be found on that side over there. I'll do my very best to see if we can find you some lapwings. And I got to meet all the guides from Arethusa the other day for my birthday. They all came through to our house. So I know the guides a little bit better now, and that's really nice to know the other guides that are driving around this area, just because you can form a relationship, get to know them a bit better, and they can help you with the different sightings that you can find here on Arethusa. So the open areas has some impala that are also grazing us. We've seen a few impala. What I'm interested in seeing is the silhouette of a jackal. So I'm just looking out into the distance there to see if I can find the silhouette of a jackal walking around. Yeah. So yeah, James Richard is agreeing with me that you would also be super excited if you saw a jackal. Well, yeah, James, I just haven't, I've been in the bush for quite some time, and I don't spend a lot of time with jackal. I mean, they are one of the lowest ranking of the predators out here, even below a cheetah. So it's very difficult to see them because they're very skittish. And I've never seen the blackbacks, just because the blackbacks is in competition with some of the predators out here. So to see a blackback jackal out here in the bush It's exciting. I think the one that I saw very briefly this morning was the side-striped jackal. Just looking around here to see if I can see any of these ground nesting birds that might be lurking around the area so we can get Sarah's list up there. At the moment, all we've got is some impala, but they're not birds. Just some grazing impala that are walking the areas of our refuser. So we're going to carry on around here. We're going to pay attention for tracks and birds, signs of birds, anything that might pull the list up. Let's go and see how Brent's doing. He's driving through a very, very, very special place.
Welcome back. Well, hopefully Sam doesn't take off while he's on the airstrip. Oh dear. Well, elephants have been naughty. That's quite an impressive feat. Now, I might actually have to get Dave off the vehicle for this, because this is a leadwood, so it's very heavy, and it is blocking our way. So, come on, Dave.
All right.
Let's go move the stump. See how strong you're feeling today, Dave. Now, you'll see this is a very heavy. Just have a look how we get. Oh, it's quite rotten. That's not too bad. No, watch your hands, and there's lots of spikes. Oh, oh, there we go. Half of it's come off. Let me grab the next half. There we go. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Naughty elephant. Pushed it down from up there. There we go. We can continue on. So, Dave and I are in the Mawati riverbed, and we were hoping there might be signs of Kruger crossing, but I've heard now she's still to the south in the Mawati River, but still to the south of us here. So we've decided we'll just take a little cruise through the river, see what we can find. Always some good birds, and actually there's a massive amount of African monarchs all around us. I think that's the best one there. I think he's keeping still with his wings open. The African monarch butterfly, and there's a lot of them here. There are a few little sedge flowers still in the riverbed, but this is always a good spot for butterflies. Down here in this particular stretch of the Mawati, we've got this very sandy soil and quite a few little plants that like to grow here that attracts the butterflies. There we go, there's another monarch. And I saw one joker flutter past, but most of the butterflies here are all monarchs. Okay, well, beautiful butterflies. Now, they don't have the mass migration like the American monarch. And they are one of the butterflies we'll see throughout the year. So some butterflies we'll only see during the summer months. The monarchs we'll see throughout the year. Oh, pretty, pretty. Jacob says, I don't think I heard properly. Did I say I was in the Milwaukee River? No, I'm in the Moluwati River. The Moluwati, and if I remember correctly, M-W-U-T-H-I, Moluwati River. So sometimes the spelling and the pronunciation can be quite different. Now, I know Sam's looking for birds, and this is also a great spot. Ooh, pretty, pretty. Oh, we'll see if we can... There he is. He's moving down towards. We'll see if we can get another view of him from a bit further on. There's a big male kudu. So we've made our way back from Cheetah Plains, we checked around the Djuma Dam area. We did have tracks of a single lioness, but unfortunately they crossed into Mala Mala, and also our signal wasn't great there. But if there was even the slightest chance of lion cubs, we had to go have a look. Is he going to pop up again? No, he's gone into the thickets, unfortunately. You can see the Eddies have been utilizing this as a highway. This is one of my favorite little spots on Djuma. The elephant staircase, I like to call it. Let's try it. Where it's about there, you can see it nicely. It's through the bush there, but now this path's been used for probably hundreds of years, and the roots exposed have caused a lovely little staircase, and it's really pretty and one of my favorite little spots. But we're going to continue to see what we can find, and it seems like Sam's hunt for a feathered friend has come to success.
So Sarah, we've just found a bird that is almost camouflaged. Can you see it? It is walking around here, slowly but surely. What I think it is a pipit from what I'm seeing from here. You'll just see it on your screen now as it walks. So let's get visual of it. I can see a clear crest. I need your help, Sarah. Can you see the white crest on top of the back, on top of the eye there? It's got a dark eye. What else can we see? Can you see the beak or the mandible? Because that's going to tell us a lot. If it's got quite a pinkish looking mandible, then it will be a buffy pipit. Could be a buffy pipit. But it seems to be a pipit. Keep looking at all the different characteristics of it. It's got streaks on its breast there. Interesting. It's one of these LBJs, which means the browner birds, these small little brown birds that jump around these open areas. So I'm just going to get it in the book, and it's really hard to distinguish between the pipits. There definitely is a new bird. Let's have a look here on pipits. Okay, so we saw quite a few of them here. So this is what I thought initially when I looked quickly. We saw that streaking on top of the eye there, that significant crest there, and I remember seeing the streaking on the front there. So that's what I did see. We can't see the back here of the pipits, but it had maybe that yellowish look at the back, and the legs looks very, very similar to that. But I don't know if you managed to see the mandible. If there was that pink part of the mandible at the bottom, it would very well be the buffy pipits, because if we go back in there, you can see there is a little lighter part to that mandible there. So this, I think, is the buffy pipits, but it could also very well have been the plain-backed pipit. So it's very, very difficult with these small little brown birds, and every single characteristic that you have to look for. So it can either be the plain-backed pipits or the buffy pipits. So I'm gonna go and end off with the buffy pipits. So that might help you there. Sarah, I'm not sure if you have that one already, but there is another bird that is here somewhere, and that might just get you to 45 this morning. It's the crowned lapwing. So we're just looking for it at the moment. There we go, there's the crowned lapwing. So you can quite clearly see that crown on top of its head there. And there's almost orange-red long legs. So you often find this lapwing on the open areas here. Awesome, so that's two birds on the plains, or these open areas here by the airstrip. Have you got these birds, Sarah? Just to let everyone know, in Final Control, they've lost internet connection, which means that they're not able to receive any of your messages while they're sitting in Final Control. So I just needed to relay that message to you. So we're not sure what you're saying. Maybe you have already seen those birds, Sarah, but we'll find out soon enough if you haven't. But let's head off on down the airstrip, see what else we might be able to find this morning. So Rebecca's using her phone. Well done, Rebecca. She saw that Sarah has now got a new bird, which is the lapwing, so that makes me very excited. I'm glad that you have a new bird, Sarah. You must be on 44 now, so we've still got some time left on drive. Let's see if we can find another bird. You've really got to go looking when you're looking for birds. You've got to use your eyes to spot the birds that you don't normally see. I mean, you see quite a lot of hornbills. You do see those lapwings quite often. But when we're talking about those birds that like to be inside those thickets, like 5 finches and indigo birds, and the small ones are very difficult to find. But when you find those birds, it's just the most incredible thing. Yeah, I get very excited when I see a new bird. We're just looking all over this area to see if we can find one. But this is often where we see the secretary birds. So there's no secretary birds here this morning. Fascinating birds, very long legs and a wingspan that's huge. So Steph's been walking around this morning and he's spotted another large animal. Let's go and see how Steph is doing.
As you can see, the bush where we are now is much thicker than the bush where we were a little bit earlier. And we've got a big elephant bull in the frame there. He's probably about 50 yards away. The wind is swirling around us at the moment, making it actually quite difficult to decide on whether or not it's safe to approach this bull. Currently the wind is sort of blowing into our faces, which is good. But it was blowing from us to him just now. And that's why he's actually standing in that thicket. You can see his ears lifted up above the level of his shoulders. There he drops them down. And that means he's calmed down a little bit. He didn't actually see us. He just picked up the faintest whiff of our scent. And that was as... Let's see if we can get a bit closer. Come on, guys, quickly. Just, yeah, watch out, yeah. We're going to try and get a bit closer to show you. Right, yeah. You'll notice that I'm just pointing out obstacles to view. Got to be so careful with elephant. Wait here. What I'm doing is I'm just scouting a place to see him. He's very close now. There's not really a place to see him over there. He's just on the other side of that big tree, which is probably about 30 yards from us at the moment. See if we can get a better view from him from the side. Watch out for these sticks, man. Alright, we're not going to get much better than we've got at the moment. Not without placing ourselves in some danger. Yeah, you're going to have to focus through those bushes to see. So those bushes on the other side of it clearly. And is pretty much the grey filler that you see behind that bush. Very difficult to see, really. But it gives you some idea of how a 4-ton, 80,000-pound animal can hide in virtually nothing. But because we don't really have a sighting, and because it's actually too dangerous to get any closer to this particular elephant, we're going to pull out of here. It's not really a good visual. I'm going to send you through to Sam, who's got something that won't kill him.
We have just spotted another bird this morning. I've seen it 3 times now, but it could be the first time for people like Sarah and Aaron and James who've got bird lists going. This is a Swainson's spurfowl. So you can see quite clearly the red markings on its head there. That's what gives it away as a Swainson's spurfowl. It's a really, really pretty looking spurfowl here. And these are the kind of areas you'll find them. So where I used to train, I never used to see the Swainsons, and now I've seen them quite a few times. So it's really, really exciting. It almost looks like it's got a red mask on. So they also have quite an interesting call. Just come and say hello. Now you can quite clearly see that red around the eye. So they are also ground nesting birds. And if we have a look at the back of the legs, we can also see the spur that has just left us now. So that was very cool to see the Swainson's Franklin. We also saw another ground nesting bird, which was the crowned lapwing. And if that was a Buffy pipit, it could have been a Buffy pipit. So that's 3, Sarah. I don't know if that helps you on your list, if that gets you to the 45 that you wanted to get to, but still fascinating to see a few more birds and put them on our lists. Okay, so we are going to continue down to the area in where we can find, there's a big dam here, Arethusa Dam, which is very close to us now, so we're just going to try and get there. And maybe we can see that young hippo that Jamie saw at one time. Jamie thinks it could have been killed, but we're coming to have another look to see maybe is that young little hippo still alive. I think there'll still be a big hippo in that watering hole. And I think it's the biggest one in all 3 areas that we go to, from Arethusa, Djuma, and Cheetah Plains. This is the biggest watering hole, so we might be able to see a new bird in there. A water nesting bird. So we've seen some ground nesting birds. Now we're going to go into the area where there's a lot more water, so we might be able to see some of those magical birds. I know that the African jacana likes to live in that watering hole. I'm not sure if anyone has the African jacana. Very, very beautiful bird that has quite significant streaks of blue on its face. So from a red streaked-faced bird to a blue streaks. And this is the right road. Yes, I'm starting to learn Arethusa so well. I don't even need my map anymore. I was driving here in the past. I did not know where I was going. It was all just new. So I just got an update from Louise saying that I know Arethusa than the other presenters. I don't know, Louise. I know that Brent comes there quite often. James also. Wow, so this is that watering hole.
Waterbuck?
Let's just see what could be around here. We've seen a waterbuck in the distance there. Beautiful. That's probably where you would find a waterbuck, very, very close to water. So it's not unusual to see that. I'm now looking around here to see if we can find a type of bird that maybe some of you don't have. Ooh, there's a bird right here. Those were oxpeckers. Those were oxpeckers that just flew off. Let's just look in this watering hole. There goes. Okay, that's a ringneck dove. Is there a hammerkop? There's some birds over there. They're the jacanas. Just to the right of us, sitting left there. They're flies. They're starting to fly now. Those are 2 African jacanas. So hopefully they'll settle. Okay, so they didn't manage to settle, but we can see them quite clearly, and it's almost better to watch them fly. These are polyandrous birds, which means that the male will rear up the chicks and live in this area, and the females will move between the different watering holes. So it's very, very different to a polygamous kind of social structure. But let's actually quickly have a look at an African jacana, just so that I can show you the difference. So JH. So this has been very, very lucky with birds this morning. There we go, the African jacana. It's over here. So you can see quite significantly that blue streak on top of the head there. And those really, really long legs. It's otherwise known as a lily trotter. So it often jumps from lily to lily. And as I said, the males incubate eggs and assume parental duties. The males also carry their young under their wings. So, and just the legs show when they're running. It almost looks like blue spaghetti out of the back of the male jacana's wings, which is always such a special thing to see. So that could be a new one for you. I'm not too sure. I truly love that bird. It's a very, very beautiful bird. But the watering hole looks quite empty now. So we're going to head off into this direction towards that beautiful looking waterbuck that's just there close to the water, and see what we might be able to find in Arethusa. It really is a beautiful place, Arethusa. My favorite place in this whole area is that drainage line right in the west there. It seems so ancient as you drive through there. So we've just seen one water nesting bird. Kyle was asking, what is the largest lake in Africa? That's a very, very good question. I think it's Lake Tanganyika. What do you think, Genre? Do you know if it's Lake Tanganyika? The largest lake in South Africa. It's a good question. It's a good question. I'm actually not sure what the largest one is.
The Gerib or the Vaal.
Could be the Gerib or the Vaal River, which is in Gauteng province. I'm not sure what the largest one is.
Those are dams, actually.
Oh, those are dams. It's a good question. I'm not sure what the largest lake is. So I just got an update that it's Lake Chrysamere. That's how I say it. I'm not sure how you would spell that. But it's in Mpumalanga. Lake Chrysamere. So look at this big waterbuck here. Beautiful looking horns. So it's a very good looking male. And I think he's done well because he is looking after this territory and looking after this area where it's very, very close to the biggest watering hole here. We had a fascinating encounter with many, many, many different waterbuck down by Sydney's dam. It was incredible that one day we just saw mating waterbuck and they were running around. It was a fascinating experience. Look at those horns. They're very, very different to that of the impala and the inyala. So those horns come up like that. It makes them look really good looking. I think they're very good looking animals, the waterbuck. So let's head on towards the drainage line down to the west of Arethusa. We still have some time to get there, so we're going to make our way and see if we can find something there that might be hanging around that area. In those areas, we can also find birds such as a black-headed oriole and other ones, so we'll see if I can find some more birds down there. In the meantime, let's go see how Steve's doing on bushwalk.
So, you know, while we're out on these bushwalks, I have got the most insatiable curiosity, and I can't but help looking under pieces of bark and around dead trees like this particular one we're on. And Wiem is now focused on what at first looked like a violin spider, but on second inspection is actually a daddy longleg spider. Now, we're all quite familiar with daddy longleg spiders because they're one of the more common spiders that you have in your home. In particular in the dark areas around your home, these particular spiders quite enjoy living there. And what I'm going to show you with this piece of grass, I'm going to point out why I think it's not a violin spider, at least anyway. And that we're going to start on the legs of the spider and move our way in. Right here, which is at the end of that piece of grass, you'll notice that there's a white there's a white part to the leg. And that is one of the diagnostic features. These bands on the joint is diagnostic of a daddy long-leg spider. Secondly, on the cephalothorax, which is where the eyes are situated, there on the spider, you will notice that there's no very clear, almost violin-y shaped marking. And then thirdly is the chelicerae, which are the front of the spider's face, thereabouts, are quite clubbed.
We are heading through down to the drainage line in Arethusa. We've only got half an hour left on drive, and we know that today is the fry-up. Today is the fry-up today, so we often we have our cooked meals on a Thursday morning. So if you're late sometimes back at camp, you might not get any of the food. And I know Jean-Ray likes his food, but I also really want to take you down to the drainage line, which just takes us a little bit further away from camp. So I'm going to take you there. I want to see if we can find maybe, I want to show you where we saw Saligeshi. I want to show you that beautiful drainage line. It's just an incredible place. I'm not going to go too slowly, so we'll see if we can get there in time to show you that beautiful place. And then hopefully we'll get some food still for Jean-Ray when we get back. So I also want some of the fry-up. I'm just as hungry as Jean-Ray is. You can imagine after a 3-hour drive, a fry-up is an amazing, before that breakfast gets cold. That's the main thing, everything gets cold and soggy. It's not very nice. But it's okay. I think it's better, wouldn't you agree, Jean-Ray, if we saw that beautiful female leopard again? It's interesting coming down to these western parts of Arethusa. We're starting to go through much different foliage. So we're coming towards almost like a lot of monkey orange trees, which are these trees to the left of us here. Very, very thick. So if we were to find a cat now and having to follow them through this thicket, it makes it very, 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 very difficult. But at the same time, this type of foliage will bring a whole different species of bird. And that's what makes these areas so incredible, is because there is diversity. And when there's a diversity of soil type, there's a diversity of plant type. And then plant type, diversity of birds. So it's very, very rich in life here. Diversity is key to any ecosystem. It's interesting just looking through this thicket here. Maybe we'll find a warthog. I have been lost once or twice on Arethusa, but I wasn't lost in the sense of I didn't go into the wrong direction, into another property. Don't worry, I've spent all the time on here. But I have been like, what road am I on? But I now know where I am, finally. I also found a leopard just the other day when I was tracking, or I think I was with Jean-Ray, and we went onto the other side of Arethusa and it jumped off. So this is, wow, this is awesome. This is also where I was with Jean-Ray the other day, and we saw a white-backed vulture, and I think that we've just found it again in its nest. Let's go nice and slowly. I'll get you a nice position of it, Jean-Ray. Well, the sun's going to be right into it, so let me just go ahead where it's easier to view the vulture and the nest itself. There it is. Awesome. So that is a whiteback vulture up in a nest in a tree here. And I did my homework from the last time that I was here, and I found out that the whiteback vulture, it breeds, it has one hatchling a year. So just one hatchling it has a year, and it's during the winter season. So we're actually coming towards the winter season. So they may very well, on top of that tree where that whiteback vulture is, be a young chick, a young whiteback vulture, which would be incredible to see one day. So myself and Genre will definitely come here as often as we can to see the developments of this nest in the future. Potentially we might see the head of a young little whiteback vulture. And that's one of my favorite things to do. Is I used to watch a young black eagle growing when I was in the Cederberg Mountains, and it's just fascinating to see how the elders look after their youngsters. There's a starling that just jumped into frame there. So it's been a morning of birds so far. So the whiteback vulture also has quite a hook in its beak, and that would help it get to the kills and eat quite a lot of that meat, as the lappet-faced vulture is very, very different, that eats the skin and all of that. This vulture is going to be trying to eat the different flesh. So that's an amazing looking bird. So glad that we popped in and said how's it, or hello to the whiteback vulture. We're now going to head through to the drainage line, as we don't have much time left, and I really want to take you there. So let's head off. Oh, it really has been a morning of birds. From elephants and hyenas interacting with each other to all sorts of different birds out on Arathusa this morning. Not sure if that's a new bird, a whiteback vulture, for a few people. I know a lot. We've seen it quite a lot recently. I mean, I saw about 7 or 8 of them the other day, Tuesday actually. It's Thursday today. Sometimes you just don't even know what day of the week it is here in the bush. I'm going to do my best to get to that drainage line as quick as possible, just to have a quick look and see what it's looking like, and then get back home for breakfast. There we go, we're very, very close. I can see the windmill, which is always a good sign that we're getting further west into Arathusa. And that picketed in a red paper. There's the windmill. Something close. Let's go.
So we are at Sydney's Waterhole, and I did hear a report about another kitty cat. And the kitty cat there is, unfortunately, not the best view. There's 2 lioness. I'm not sure who, probably from the Djuma Pride. And there we go, looking back at us now. Unfortunately, quite far into Buffalo's Hook, but at least we can see them. And as VM says, a cat is a cat. So the cat drought has been ended, thank goodness, with lion and leopard this morning. I think the leopard sighting definitely is the winner, though. Nice to actually get to see Nkanyen's cubs for the first time. But they are quite close to the boundary. What are they? What do you reckon? They're 150, 200 meters from us. So there's a possibility that they might decide to head back towards Djuma on the sunset safari. I don't think they're going to be doing too much moving. They found a nice shady spot amongst the quarries, and very difficult to see whether they're full or not from here. But it's a good spot. You might get lots of different animals coming down to drink during the day. I'm not sure if that's a lioness or a young male. Just use my camera quickly. I think that's a young male. Okay, lighten the photo up a bit. Sitting in the shade. Let's have a look. Yes, I think that's a young male. Well, I don't know if we're going to be able to have a look carefully here. How's that, Dave? Let me see.
A little bit. Yeah, we can just make it out.
So it looks like the mane forming there. So I wonder if this is not one of the breakaway young males or Tsalala young males. I can't see the other lion. I can only see the one. There we go. Nice, Dave. So a young male lion, not a lioness as was originally called in. There could be a lioness there, I'm not sure. So that definitely rules out the Nkahumas. So now we have a mystery on our hands. Which lions could it be? So there's two prides of lions that have been in and out and around this area for the last little while. And both of them have young males, the Tsalala pride and the Mangem or Tsalala breakaway pride. So, interesting. I wonder who got left behind. Or is it a new young male or two new young males that have come in from the Manuleti or Kruger? Interesting times ahead. Well, I don't think they're going to move at all, so we're not going to sit here. It's not the best view at that distance, but as VM says, a cat is a cat. And we're going to go see what else we can find. So while we go see what else is around on Djuma, let's go see what Sam Wise is up to.
I've actually never been in the drainage line. It was so beautiful in here. So many different.
Well, we're back. It seems like Sam is in a very low signal area, so you're stuck with Dave and myself for the next little while. And we've got a juvenile basileia. Oh, unfortunately flying right towards the sun. Yep, turn right, right, right. There we go, away from the sun. And riding the wind. You can see how he increases in speed when he catches a bit of a draft. Oh. I love watching basileia sort of play the wind with that short tail. They need to overcorrect with the wings, and you see, and that's where they get their name. Basileia is a French foot tightrope walker. And it looks like he's balancing and walking on the high wire. I'll let the young basileia carry on searching for a morsel. Okay, so we're on Sandy Patch now. I think let's head towards the open area where it joins with Vuyatilla access. Always a good area to look for giraffe and zebra and impala and see if we can find some nice general game there. I'm still hoping for an elephant. I have not seen one elephant today, and I think this is the first day, or first drive, since I've been back where I have not seen a single elephant. So I'd like to rectify that before the end of drive. So James Richard is wondering, with antelope, does the type of herd structure determine a set breeding season for them? That's a very interesting question, James, and I think it's possibly true to a degree, but I also think food availability plays quite a big role. So not so much the herd structure. So if we take some of the antelopes we see regularly here, and habitat choice as well. So if we take the two that have a very set mating season, and that's impala and wildebeest, they are generally give birth at that sort of height of summer, so lots of nutrients around, and they're also quite mobile. Now, if we look at, for example, kudu and inyala,
east to Ngala at Sydney's Dam, just east of the dam, inside the dam.
they tend to be quite more stationary in the areas they stay. So along drainage lines and thickets and things like that. And also, quite often there's more of a food availability throughout the year in those areas that they prefer, like being browsers. So that could be why they don't have a set breeding season, unlike impala and wildebeest. Now with wildebeest, I'm quite confident it's very specific to do with when the best grass is around. And because wildebeest are such a finicky feeder, I mean, they're very specialized to short grasses, and even amongst the short grasses, they'll pick and choose the best grasses. So I think they have that definite breeding season because of their very specific dietary requirements. Now, impala aren't that specific. They feed off browse and graze and throughout the year. But they do tend to move between areas depending. So it could be that they have their babies while they can be as stationary as possible with the most food as possible for the females to produce enough milk. So I think that's probably got more to do with it. It's more to do with food choices than anything else. Well, no giraffe out here, and no wildebeest, no zebra, but there are some impala. Looks like 2 boys, 3 boys. Oh, it looks like we might have a bit of head butting. So these 2 closest to us look like they're doing the dance. And not so much. Now, interesting enough, the dominant male, who's got all the girls at the moment, is keeping a very close eye on these 3 males, because they are 3 relatively big males. There's the dominant male down there. He's turned around, but he was watching them quite carefully. So all 3 of these guys are big adult males, so could possibly challenge him for his rights to the harem. Now, during the impala breeding season, the dominant male who mates with the herd will change sometimes 3 or 4 times as the dominant male gets really, he loses condition. He doesn't eat well when he's mating and fighting. So, oh, there we go. Oh, little. Oh, is he going to come out? Yes, he is. So, he's jogging back towards the edge of the ladies as these other boys had moved a bit closer. He's jogged out towards this northern edge of the ladies to make sure none of them think about going to join the bachelor boys for a quick dalliance. I still think there's a bit too much distance between them all for anything too exciting to happen. So we're going to continue on, and we're going to go to Sam now, who's got some unlikely bedfellows, but actually two we see together quite often.
So we've just come across a really, really big hippopotamus with a small little terrapin on top of its back there, which is very cool to see a terrapin on top of the hippopotamus's back. So we are at Red Dam in Arethusa. So we drove through the drainage line, but the signal was so bad. And as I said, the drainage line is where the rains sometimes come down and water will follow that path. And so we just drove down there and there was nothing much there, but we came across these beautiful looking hippo and terrapin. And there's another bird that's making quite a bit of noise around here. That is the black-smith plover. So we saw the crowned plover not so long ago, and now we're with the blacksmith. Have a listen to that bird call. So he almost sounds like a blacksmith. So that is the blacksmith plover. And it's quite cool. Let's have a look at that terrapin that's on top there. So that would be, you get two types of terrapin. You get the serrated hinged terrapin. There's actually another terrapin that's, you can just see its head popping out of the water there. Quite funny, there's two of them. And then there's one on top, so I don't know how that terrapin managed to get up there. Maybe around the back there. But these ones probably struggle to get up. And it's so cool just to see their heads pop out there. And the terrapin is almost quite in the middle between a tortoise and a turtle. And you get two types. You get the marsh terrapin and you get the serrated hinged terrapin. And from this distance, I can kind of pick it up as a serrated hinged terrapin. What's interesting with terrapins, they can't bring their head into their shell much like a tortoise can. The terrapin just moves its head to the side of the shell. And it's trying to protect itself. Very, very different to that of a tortoise. This hippo here, so apparently Jean-Ray was telling me that you don't often see hippos in Red Dam, which is in Arethusa, so this is a first for him. And it's most certainly a first for me to see a hippo here. And it most likely is a male hippo in the water here. So it would have been grazing on the land over the night and has come down to the waterine areas to protect itself from the hot rays of the sun. So that is a beautiful looking hippo and a terrapin in the water. It's really cool when you see those terrapins sitting on the backs of the hippo. It's almost like they're trying to get a ferry across the watering hole to get to the other side there. And I think, you know, what is the purpose of the terrapin standing on top of the hippo like that? Maybe it's because it can collect some sunlight so we can get some warmth. That could be it. But it's just interesting. You don't often see that, and I really enjoy watching a terrapin on top of a hippo. But it's been an awesome little sighting there. Arethusa really is an interesting place, and I'm so glad that I'm starting to learn a little bit more about where everything is and where the roads are, because when things do start getting very active with lions moving through the area, buffaloes moving, then I know where to go. You know, I know where Red Dam is. I know that they're saying lions are tracking a buffalo down at Red Dam. I can get in my vehicle and drive straight there. So the knowledge and the experience of learning more about sheer plains and Arethusa is growing by the day, which is exciting. And I've thoroughly enjoyed my last 6 weeks here. So I still have around 2 weeks left here. Apparently my brother might be surprising me next week in the bush, which would be fantastic. We can all maybe have a quick look at Tom, but he looks very, very similar to me. And hopefully, I'm just excited to be with my brother. But other than that, we're going to end our drive now. It's been fantastic. We've seen quite a few different birds, and we saw that great interaction with the hyena this morning. Jean-Ray, thank you so much behind camera. Always great. And thank you, ladies in FC. We'll see you all later for the sunset safari. Enjoy the rest of your days. Or nights, whatever it is.
So I was hoping for some giraffe or some elephant around it, but nothing so far. Just some leaves falling from the sky. We have been seeing quite a few giraffe recently, and they have been really liking this sort of western edge of quarantine. But alas, no tall towers on quarantine so far. But what an exciting morning it's been. Very, very, very happy to be able to show you guys Nkanyin's cubs for the first time. I know there are going to be some seriously ecstatic people around the world, and also some incredibly jealous people around the world who might have missed it. But hopefully we will get to see them again sometime. So she did cross into Kruger, and so she was running away from Shivamba Lion. Apparently she had a kill, and Shivamba Lion has stolen it. And unfortunately he is inside in coral, so we were not able to get a view of him. And it's nice to know the six females and cubs are around that western boundary of Cheetah Plains. So fingers crossed that they will make an appearance. It seems like there are cubs everywhere at the moment. Shadow, Karula, Nkanyin, Styx Lioness. So very exciting. And a good time for the predators to have cubs. Heading into a drought, everything's going to be easier to catch. So Judy and Paige are wondering why Shivamba Lion should be a problem. Isn't he the father? Now, as a lot happens, and I think I've harped on a lot about this quite a few times, is we don't actually know who the father is. We can speculate, but without genetic testing, we have absolutely no idea. Now, even male leopards that have possibly side cubs will sometimes kill their own cubs. If they're unsure, or if the cubs get a bit annoying around a kill. Mvula was a bit of an exception to this around cubs. He seemed to tolerate cubs far more than other male leopards generally do. We cannot look at this in a human way. It's sort of a nice little family unit. It does not work like that out here. If a male leopard or a male lion is injured and lacking in condition, and one of his cubs runs up to him, he will eat that cub to try and pick up condition on the fact that he can then mate again and pass on his genes that way. So for him, his survival is paramount over that of his offspring. So we've got to remember, this is not Disney. This is the real African bush. I mean, it is amazing that we are able to see it exactly how it is. There's no editing, there's no putting happy stories in place, there's no Disneyfying of what happens. What happens, happens. And that is for me, one of the most amazing things about what we do. And it is an incredible privilege to be able to share that with you guys all over the world. But we must remember, life in the bush is tough, and we can't expect, or we shouldn't put human emotion and human thoughts into these animals, because at the end of the day, they are wild animals. So we're coming towards the end of the sunrise safari, and as I said, so excited that we got to see Nkanyin's cubs. Also, it sounds now that Aubrey's got closer to those lions. It is 2 young males, and they think there are 2 young males from the breakaways. But I'm sure we'll be following up in a few short hours. Hopefully they do decide to head to the west slightly and come and join us on Djuma for the sunset safari. Other than that, Karula's still on in Little Gowrie. I think she's still on that Impala kill. Birmingham's have finished their buffalo. 2 of them chased buffalo into Kruger Park last night. There's another on Chitwa, and 1 is in the ether somewhere. So you never know when he might arrive. But to find out what's happening, Join us on the Sunset Safari in a few short hours. Bye.